Back again. Hello. Cathar Love number 88. It's a hurting world. Well, that's hardly news. In fact, probably a part of why the world is hurting is the constant barrage of news that we get, and most of it's not good. So sometimes at the end of the news they tell a story about someone being saved, or in Australia we just had people been digging a hole. It was a wombat hole. A wombat is the largest rodent. They're quite huge, like a metre long, and that's pretty big for a rat. But they're quite cuddly and harmless, and they have these giant burrows. Anyhow, this dog chased this, went down a burrow chasing the wombat, and unfortunately his burrows can be like 30 metres, and the wombat's got an exit, and the dog got caught. And so the government services gave up on trying to find the dog, but people hang in there. So after about 5 days they eventually dug the dog out, and he was okay. So we hear these stories, these feel-good stories, and probably just as well, because the news so often is so terrible. And I was listening to a thing about UFOs, but this person who had been abducted, and he just made the comment that the aliens made the comment about us that we're parasites. In fact, we have such a great planet, and we're just destroying that planet. And you know, when we destroy these trees, they just don't grow again, and some will never grow again, and even those that do can take years and years. So, and also the other thing was that there's no other people or no other planetary race that goes around killing each other. So it's a pretty poor summation of where we're at. And so no wonder the world is hurting, because we're hurting the world. And yet, I'm reading another book, and it was about Captain Kidd, the pirate. A wonderful book. Oh, it was called Captain Kidd, and by an American author, and he done this amazing research. And of course, the captain, it isn't as it appears. He was actually chasing pirates, and these people had sent him out to chase pirates and gain treasure for him, including the King of England, and but it was all very secret. But because he didn't find any pirates and any treasure, his crew actually mutinied, and but he didn't, and he hung on, and but he did attack some ships, and he did find treasure. But he went back, and he heard that he was declared a pirate. He went back to clear his good name, and he was thrown in chains, and eventually went from Governor Bellamont of New York, sent him across to England, where he was eventually tried and hung. But the thing about the research was that in England, in England, here were these judges and the people, and they had the prisoners from Tyburn and Newgate prison, and they stuck to such a degree that they were in a foot deep in herbs to try and get some smell, and everybody had these nosegays or potpourris of herbs that they smelled to keep the stink down of these prisoners. But the people themselves, including the judges, only bathed twice a year. They didn't use toilet paper. So to those who already stunk, these just stunk a lot worse. So they must have been really something. So for people who don't even bathe themselves, only the odd twice a year. Samuel Pepys, the Pepys diary, he used to get upset when his wife used to insist on him bathing once a year. He thought it was very, very bad for your health. So, I don't know about you, but I love my shower, and and but the world has progressed. I mean, the world then was far more hurting than what it is now. But not only did it hurt, it stunk. It was a stinking mess, and it was, you know, how we managed to survive all these germs and so forth, and get to now. So we need to discover or go back in order to appreciate where we are now. Sure, we've got people murdering each other, we've got people blowing up planes, we've got people butchering each other, but there's far more love in the world. There are far more people reaching out to other people. There's just so many good people in the world. It's just amazing. I think the world would change, and change dramatically, if only we could get rid of religion. Look, you know, of course, we have religions. I love Buddhism. I studied Buddhism, and I thought, oh, there's so much about it, you know, that I really like. But the plain fact is, we've got these Buddhist fanatics, really nasty people, who are burning and pillaging and killing, and the Rohingyas, who happen to be a Muslim minority, but they've been there for hundreds of years. They're born there, they're bred there. And these people want them, and they're sending them out in boats with no food and no water. We have in Sri Lanka, that's a Muslim country, and they had a 10 years war against the Tamils, an Indian group who simply want to have their own autonomy. People like to rule themselves, and of course there's this war, and so here these Buddhists slaughtering these Tamils. So, you know, so it's one thing to have all these religions, and you know, that Islam is the religion of peace, and Christianity is a religion of peace, and Buddhism is a religion of peace, and Judaism is a religion of peace. You know, but in real practicalities, you know, there's a lot of nasty Jews doing nasty things to Muslims, and there's lots of Muslims doing nasty things to other Muslims, and there's nasty Christians doing it to a lot of other people. But it shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be like this. I'm afraid religion is a very sad experiment that didn't work very well. It certainly would, the founders of each of these religions, Muhammad would be aghast. Buddha couldn't recognize his own mob. Christ, God, he'd say, who the hell are these? I mean, poor old Moses. So, it's what happens that a lot of these people, they start something, they know something, but it turns into controlling moral codes. So, with Catharism, thank God for Catharism. It's unique in the fact that it is simply based on love and based on ultimately returning to God or the source, and that's what it's all about. Rather than all the rules and the Jewish groups, and good luck to them, Muslims and Christians, and they got all these rules, what you could and you can't do about sex and drinking and dancing and all the things that are fun in the world and have a bit of bring you a bit of laughter or happiness for one reason or another. If it's pleasurable, if it makes people laugh and they feel good, there must be something, there must be the devil's work, there must be something bad in it. And in that book was talking about Captain Kidd. They talked about you know, New York and the Puritans, and you know, well, the Puritans didn't celebrate Christmas. Christmas was a popish, it was a Catholic institution, and that just wasn't celebrated, and so it was dead as a doornail on Christmas Day in New York. And anything to do with happiness and joy they had a French dancing master, but he only lasted a couple of years before they threw him out. No, you can't have people dancing. My God, well, what's the world coming to? So this is what it was like. So it is different now. And I was at a meeting, a seminar a week ago, and the person sitting next to me, and I usually ask people, what do you do, what are you on about? And I said, a few YouTubes, write a few books. Oh, what about Cathars? But Cathars, who are the Cathars? So, it's the same old story. But in actual fact, I do talk to people, I do hear people, and people, there is this massive resurgence going on. Another thing is that I do have correspondence, and people write to me for one reason or another. They usually from the dialogues they've bought the books, and that's usually the way. Or they've heard my videos or whatever, and they know it's Johnny Bynum, and they Google me or whatever. Anyhow, so whatever, one way or another, one reason or another, they get my address, and that's great, and I love hearing from people. And the common theme for people who do contact me is that they've had experiences, and they say, look, I can't tell this to anybody else. There's very few people I can tell this to, but I feel you'll understand. And it's to do with Catharism or the medieval period or the Templars or something around about that time. But in every single case, I can say every single case, the person has had some mystical experience, some paranormal, some metaphysical experience, which they weren't looking for. It just arrived for one reason or another. And so one woman was at a lecture, this is only just within the last couple of weeks. One woman was at a lecture, and it was a lecture on the Cathars, and she just had this, I'm home, this amazing feeling come over. She's had other paranormal experiences, out-of-body experiences and so forth, and she's got this tremendous connection with the Cathars. Another guy, quite lately, and he was a healer, and he just a natural healer came over him. He discovered he had this particular gift, which so many people have, and so many people don't realise that they have. My partner, Monica, she's a healer, but until I said, I feel that you are, and why don't you try? And when she tried, sister had a pain for about 15 years, and the pain disappeared and never returned. And so, oh wow, so one thing leads to another, and away they go, and suddenly people realise they have this particular power. Even some animals have that particular healing power. But they tend to be sublimated by the intensity of the world, and the pressures and the lack of time, and people are just not, we're more caught up in work and other things and the family rather than this side of our life. And so this guy, then someone handed him a book and said, I think you might be a touch of the Cathar in you, and so one thing led to another, and he's got these books. So another one, I remember, he was in the army, and he was on his first parachute jump, and he was scared, and just as the door opened, he saw this Templar cross, and he'd had this affinities with the Templars, and he saw this in the sky there. He saw this Templar cross, and suddenly this calmness came over him, and he had a perfect parachute jump. So I can go on and on about people who contacted me. But the common denominator is this: they've had this overwhelming experience that they've been drawn towards Catharism, and so they've suddenly bought books. The Massacre of Montsegur by Zar Oldenburg, and of course Arthur Gurdam, We Are One Another, Cathar's Reincarnation, and then so they've had this this inner feeling and this inner vibration, call it what you like, and they've sought out other information, and which has led them often to my books or to the videos or whatever. So an aspect of Catharism, or connecting with Catharism, is a mystical, this paranormal, this metaphysical aspect, which seems to, well, what I keep saying, it's when you have that, it's signposting you, it's giving you a sign to say, yes, 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 you're okay, you're on the right track, keep going, because these things, they're positive. They're positive signposts. There's positive, it's not a negative aspect. And they're things that help you discover things about yourself which you did not realize, or you never gave yourself credit for. So it's all part of this TTT, what would you call it? The paranormal metaphysical Cathar process, which is transformation, transcendation, and ultimately transmutation. And there's no hurry, it just happens over eternity, so yeah, we don't have to be in a hurry about all this. But the initial thing is there's a transformation, one way or another, by reading a book, or someone talks to you, or maybe you hear a video, or whatever it happens to be, but there's some transforming aspect which tips you, or puts you on the process, or along the path, of whichever way you want to put it. But once you're on that journey, once you're along that path, then metaphysical things will happen, paranormal things will happen, transcendental things will happen, things that are transcendent, they're above the normal. And this is telling you, and my message is that when these things do happen, the thing is not to be agitated, not to be, oh, wow, the thing is, the more you can be laid back about it, the more you can go along with the flow, the more you can relax with it. These things will happen of their own accord, but what will happen to you may not happen to me, and what will happen to me may not happen to somebody else. We'll have our own individual journey. But it's a great journey, and it's good. And what it is giving us, ultimately, what we're gaining is not a belief, but a knowledge. Religions can give you beliefs, and your belief can be your religion. But Catharism, even Gnosticism, is the seeking of gnosis, or seeking of knowledge. And that knowledge is when you understand, and you now know that you have this connection with the past, in this case the Cathars, that we are reincarnated, we do have a guide, we are not alone, and this is knowledge, this is a knowing, this is an aspect of gnosis. And that's different. And believe me, it's much better to know than to rely on a belief. All this, ultimately, in this hurting world of ours, and God knows it's hurting, this can give us an inner peace, an inner tranquility, and make life more livable. On that, I shall say goodbye, and we'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.